Hello and welcome to Let's Wander. I'm your host Chris and I'm accompanied in this episode by Lila and Buddy, and we are in Buckler's Hard in the New Forest. So with all this being said, let's wander. Set in the stunning surroundings of the New Forest, Buckler's Hard is a real jewel in the crown. It's a living museum and some of the residents still live and work in the same place in the same ways as their ancestors. It is estimated that up to 50 naval ships were laid here, and some of them took part in one of English history's most important battles, the Battle of Trafalgar. These channels are the same ones that the ships would have been constructed in, and there are shards of old bottles in the museum that are thought to be from the christening of the ships. The shipwrights would have worked out of a building like this, and the air would have been thick with the smell of the forge, cut wood, and the sound of tools chopping at wood. People can take part in woodwork at Buckler's Hard, so you get an idea of what it would have sounded like. On this morning, the most noise was coming from these young birds fledging in the eaves. This is the Chapel of St Mary's, and it is the village place of worship, but before it became a chapel it was used by the shipyard workers as a smuggler's den, and then after that as a school. A stash of bottles was found during renovation work installing a new wooden floor, and this is now visible through a pane of glass in the floor. This memorial plaque is to Sir Francis Chichester, who in 1967 embarked on a trip around the world in an attempt to break records set by 19th century clippers. It was an eventful trip and it's well worth reading his account of the storm off Cape Horn. His trip broke 5 records, including the fastest trip around the world by a small vessel. Some of the houses are set up to give you an idea and a feel of life in the village in its heyday. My favourite was the recreation of an inn. It reminded me of the Bell pub in Molesey where I grew up, with its dark corners and open fires. The museum is at the back of the gift shop. It's £6 for adults and is actually quite large and has a lot of information to read about the history of Buckler's Hard. This is a puckle gun and it is hand crank operated. It fired 2 types of ammunition, round for Christians and square for heathens. As mentioned earlier, some of the ships named on this list were used in the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805. The ships that took part in the Battle of Trafalgar that were built in Buckler's Hard were the Agamemnon, the Swiftsure and the Euryalus, and they all took part in the famous sea battle in which Lord Nelson lost his life to a French sniper bullet. That day the Royal Navy repelled a combined force of French and Spanish ships making an attempt at making way for Napoleon's invasion during the War of the Third Coalition. News of Britain's victory and Nelson's demise was sent to England via a small ship known as the Pickle. HMS Pickle was a schooner, too small to take part in the battle and was described as being about as dangerous as a pair of boots. However, she was a fast ship. The message read, "Sir, we have won a great victory, but we have lost Lord Nelson." So that brings us to the end of our wander at Buckler's Hard. If you like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. So from me, Chris, Lila and Buddy, this was Let's Wander, and we'll see you again soon. Bye 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 bye.